At the marital exchange ceremony, both my sister and I were chosen as the Beastkin's contract brides. My sister spurned the declining Fox clan for the powerful merfolk, only to be drugged and heart-harvested when her merman husband was about to ascend as a dragon, left as a breathless puppet. Meanwhile, I who married into the Fox clan became their matriarch within 3 short years, sharing their eternal lifespan and endless prosperity as my succession approached. Both beastkin and humankind came bearing congratulations. Amidst the roaring crowd, my sister seized the moment to murder me with gnashed teeth during the succession ceremony. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day the clan chief let us choose our beastkin husbands. Without hesitation, my sister snatched the fox-fur jade pendant offered by the Fox tribe and pressed it against her heart. She flashed me a triumphant smile. "Little sister, this time I'll be the one to become the exalted Fox matriarch." I accepted the mermaid's heart scale, masking the excitement and joy in my eyes. She only knew the prestige of being the Vixen clan's matriarch, unaware of their expertise in brewing poisons and cultivating parasites within human hosts. The day of ascension would mark the sacrificial bride's soul scattering like mist, her bowels rotting within. When the beast folk's marriage proposal arrived at the ancestral hall, the chieftain was leading villagers in solemn prayer to the mountain spirit for a bountiful year. The fox-fur jade pendant and shark-scale breastplate were reverently placed on the table by the clan chief, who then carefully inserted 2 wooden slips into the gold-lacquered carved cylinder. After arranging them front and back, the chief cleared his throat, his eyes glinting with shrewd calculation. "Cora, Mina, you've been orphans raised by this village since childhood. Now is the time to repay that kindness. The choice is yours to make." Though the chief claimed to leave the decision to us, his gaze kept lingering on elder sister Mina's face. My sister possessed peerless beauty and a quick wit, making her far more popular than my habitually taciturn self. The clan leader clearly wished for her to pick the bamboo slip further to the right. Marrying into the politically dominant merfolk clan would be infinitely preferable to wedding some ailing fox spirit whose house was already in decline. Even I could decipher his thinly veiled suggestion, yet my sister made the exact opposite choice. She decisively grasped the leftmost wooden slip and snatched the fox-fur jade pendant in one fluid motion. "Elder," she declared, "I choose the Fox clan." "Mina, stop this nonsense." The clan chief slammed the table, his voice trembling with emotion. His true intention was for Mina to lead their villagers toward enlightenment through the Merfolk Alliance, using the Beastman's influence to protect their settlement. But joining the Fox tribe deep in the mountains would only bring endless suffering. Yet my sister remained deaf to reason. She pricked her finger with a silver needle, letting blood seep into the jade pendant. The blood pact with Beastmen was sealed, and our fate was irrevocably decided. Her smile grew radiant as she gazed at the blood-red glowing jade pendant. "Little sister, this time, I shall become the supreme Fox clan matriarch." Her words made me realize in an instant, my elder sister has been reborn too. Our village grew in the contested borderlands between beastkin and human territories, under the protection of neither, to safeguard our people. The chieftain would offer 2 girls born under the darkest lunar alignment every decade. Only those with pure innocence could successfully form pacts with the beastkin. This very tradition became the reason my sister and I were taken in by the impoverished village during the famine, when we'd lost everything. The day of my coming-of-age ceremony coincided with the ritual to forge the beastkin pact and offer brides. The Fox clan, long withdrawn from worldly affairs, wields diminishing influence. The merfolk maintain close ties with humans and possess the potential to ascend as dragons, their power growing steadily. In our past life, my sister scorned the Fox clan's weakness and impulsively wed into the merfolk, dreaming of joint ascension, while I married into the obscure Fox clan, fading into oblivion. My elder sister, upon joining the merfolk, grew arrogant and disdainful toward the servant mermaids, making countless enemies. As her merman husband was on the verge of transforming into a dragon, she was drugged and had her heart carved out, reduced to a breathless puppet. Meanwhile, I steadily gained footing among the Fox tribe, rising to become the matriarch who ruled the entire clan with an extended lifespan. Even the merfolk now feared my power. Upon learning this, the village chief led the people to build multiple shrines, enshrining me and the Fox spirits, offering endless worship and incense. As the Fox clan's first lady, I became the most revered figure in the village, standing equal to the chieftain. Meanwhile, my sister, now a puppet being, was forced to eke out a wretched existence in the shadowy basement day after day. Puppet beings cannot endure direct sunlight. Having lost her usefulness, the once affectionate chieftain turned completely indifferent toward her, and the villagers never bothered to visit. During my succession ceremony, the village erupted in celebration. Gongs boomed, firecrackers crackled, and fireworks lit the sky for an entire day. Seizing the chaos, my resentful sister shoved me off the high platform. With a razor-sharp dagger, she slit my throat, then forced the most potent poison down my nose and mouth. Caught off guard, I died in agony as my insides rotted away. Cora, you worthless creature, I've always outshone you since childhood. You're uglier, your figure's worse, how dare you live better than me? You were born to grovel beneath my feet, even in death's throes. Her venomous words still echoed in my ears. Fate played its cruel joke. When I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the very day the chieftain let us choose our orc husbands. To my utter astonishment, my elder sister had also been reborn. This time, she beat me to forming a pact with the Fox clan, fearing I might compete for it. She even sealed an eternal blood covenant by cutting her finger, leaving no room for retreat. As the situation became irreversible, the clan leader gave Mina a disappointed glare before turning to me. Cora, I can tell you're sharp. Seek the merfolk, their influence can protect you. Accepting the merfolk's heart-scale talisman, I masked my exhilaration and nodded obediently like a pecking chick. In my past life, I longed to marry into the merfolk clan because aiding a merman's ascension to dragonhood would nullify our contract, granting me true freedom beyond indebted compromises. But elder sister had the chieftain's favor. The merfolk alliance was hers by default, leaving me no say in the matter. Now everything has changed. I can join the merfolk, apply my secretly mastered healing arts to help him transform into a dragon, and finally live as a free woman. Seeing me speechless with excitement, my sister curled her lips into a mocking smile. Cora, you don't actually think the mermaid clan is some paradise, do you? There are 2 young masters there. The eldest is strong and healthy, while you're marrying the sickly second son. Mark my words, you're in for a world of suffering, too. With smug satisfaction, she fastened the Foxfur jade pendant against her chest. I, on the other hand, am marrying the Fox clan's sole heir. The title of First Madam will be mine for the taking. Once I inherit the position, you'll forever be beneath my heel, never to rise again. Her laughter grew increasingly manic, as if utterly convinced of her brilliant choice. Little did she know. The Fox clan excels in brewing potions and poisons, using human bodies to cultivate venom, at first. The host shows no symptoms, but their marrow is gradually consumed and corroded away. On the day of ascension, the bridal sacrifice's soul would scatter while her body rots from within. On her wedding day, lightning crisscrossed the unnaturally darkened sky. My sister and I sat in separate red bridal sedan chairs, hers being twice the size of mine. As the crowd ushered my sister toward her sedan chair with the bridal veil already placed, I had just finished applying my makeup and was about to line my lips. Her hand froze midair as she was about to lift the curtain, her piercing gaze locking onto me with sudden intensity. Wait, she commanded. With the wedding imminent, the clan leader feared she might back out and thus indulged her every whim. He immediately halted the procession and asked with concern, "What's wrong, Mina?" to the villagers. The bridal pact represented divine protection from the Beastfolk clan, a sacred guarantee of 10 prosperous years. The chief's groveling deference filled my sister with smug satisfaction, her grin widening by the second. The bridal palanquin awaits, but there's mud on my shoes. Cora, come wipe them clean. Before the echo of her words faded, the villagers shoved me forward. The chief weaponized tradition before the crowd. Cora, Mina's your elder sister. Honor her as you would a mother. Clean her shoes. Kneeling slowly, I dusted her ankles with foxbane powder, just enough to worsen the clan's curse. A casual rub sealed her fate. Meanwhile, the little foxes in the wedding procession began yipping excitedly. Amid the crowd's cheers, she shot me a haughty glance, lifting and twirling one foot. Then she sneered contemptuously, "Cora, soon we'll both be brides of the Beastfolk. It's only proper for the younger sister to serve the elder. This is filial duty. I simply didn't want you forgetting decorum by having you polish my shoes. Don't overthink it." I gave a non-committal hum. No point reacting. The medicinal powder had already seeped into her system. If anything, I should thank her for handing me this opportunity. As she turned to leave, she suddenly leaned close, warm breath ghosting over my neck as she whispered, "Listen, little sister. Let me give you some friendly advice. The Merfolk Kingdom is no paradise. The eldest prince's influence grows daily, yet he secretly fears his frail but widely admired younger brother. If you value your safety, currying favor with the crown prince should be your top priority, but with your spineless nature, the kind that wouldn't squeak if beaten thrice, you'd probably take abuse lying down even if they murdered you." By the end, her eyes overflowed with undisguised mockery, radiating smug superiority. "Don't worry though, when they drug you, carve out your heart and turn you into a puppet, I'll make proper arrangements. The village's insect breeding pit is dark and dry, perfect for you to become one with the venomous crawlers." Mid-conversation, she patted my shoulder with slit-eyed affection. "After all, you're my dearest little sister, a vessel for venomous insects. What a truly special kindness you've shown me." I returned a faint smile, enunciating each deliberate word. "And you're my dearest elder sister. Out of concern, let me offer you some Friendly advice: becoming the headwife won't be so simple. In the days to come, who'll prevail? We'll see about that. Perhaps frustrated by my calm demeanor despite my impending marriage to the merfolk, Mina shoved me violently backward, snarling, "Listen well, I've always been one step ahead of you, Cora. Don't think the weakened state of the Fox clan will last forever. Your day of reckoning will come, oh Cora. Do enjoy your dream life with the merfolk. I can't wait to see you groveling on your knees, weeping pitifully as you beg for my mercy." I simply hummed in acknowledgement, watching as she stormed off to her bridal palanquin. She's been competing with me since childhood, determined to outdo me in everything. Whatever I liked, she'd put in just to oppose me. Countless daily conflicts arose from her constant contrarian attitude. Essentially, she derived all her sense of superiority from overshadowing me. But the jealousy curse cultivated by fox spirits works fastest when planted in petty minds. The narrower the heart, the swifter the venom's backlash strikes. Who'll be the first to beg for mercy in tears? That remains to be seen. By the time the bridal palanquin reached the mermaid clan's territory, night had fully descended. By the imposing gate, several merfolk still in their transitional form stood guard. I took a deep breath and firmly grasped their slightly slimy dorsal fins. Compared to joining the Fox clan that secretly poisoned me, marrying into the merfolk to help the second prince, my future husband, ascend as a dragon and break our contract for freedom was the dream I'd cherished through both lifetimes. Now that this long-cherished dream finally came true, I'd be a fool not to seize this opportunity. Before I could enter the main hall, the merfolk crown prince, the very one who tormented my sister in our past life, blocked my path, arms crossed defiantly before me. The veil obscured my vision, leaving only his scaled feet visible. My sister, relying solely on her beauty, thought too highly of herself and refused to learn any skills. As a result, she was often bullied among the merfolk, only managing to intimidate younger ones with her domineering presence. Never the favored child, I endured countless torments under her schemes. To survive, I devoted myself to rigorous study, gradually realizing that even orcs had their vulnerabilities. In the dead of night, I'd steal into the mountains to forage herbs and battle venomous creatures. From initial helplessness, I mastered distinguishing healing plants from poisonous ones, eventually snapping their necks with ease. They became ingredients in my alchemical concoction. The long and agonizing process left my body covered in countless gruesome scars. As I regained my senses, I noticed those feet slowly advancing toward me. Galen, the merfolk crown prince with paranoid tendencies, scrutinized me with piercing eyes before recoiling in disgust upon realizing I was just a powerless mortal devoid of any remarkable talents. The guard beside him looked down on me with undisguised contempt, raising an eyebrow mockingly. Tisk tisk, who'd have thought that sickly second young Master Ian could still get married? Let's see if this auspicious wedding ends up being his funeral instead. Hearing the guard's words, the little merfolk surrounding me joined in with sneering nods. I stood my ground beneath the bridal veil, a silver needle slipping silently from my sleeve to rest between my index and middle fingers. Galen took my silence as confirmation of his belief that humans are all spineless weaklings. Casually brandishing a trident to flip up my veil, the barbed tip of the trident gleamed coldly. Razor sharp, had I stood still, it would have slashed from my temple to jawline. Calculating I had enough silver needles, I dodged as several embedded themselves in his limbs with lightning speed, feigning a twisted ankle just as he noticed. I crumpled to the ground. I knew Galen was ruthless and vindictive. No doubt he'd orchestrated Ian's illness. In our past life, though my sister lorded over the young merfolk attendants, she'd also helped Ian fend off many ill-intentioned servants. Unable to stomach the injustice, Galen schemed to drug her, carve out her heart, and turn her into a puppet. With no one left to protect Ian, he met his demise, leaving the eldest Prince Ian to ultimately seize control of the merfolk and ascend as their dragon sovereign. Countless merfolk who had once been loyal to Ian were slaughtered. I crumpled to the ground, tears streaming down my face. When Galen raised his trident in fury at my attempt to flee, I dropped to my knees in a desperate slide. Clinging to his leg while wailing uncontrollably, seizing the moment, I scattered the powdered drug across his body. It's a drug that causes unbearable itching for merfolk, mild in potency yet impossible to counteract. Galen writhed in frustration, trying to pull back his leg, but the embedded silver needles sent waves of prickling numbness through his body with every twitch. Clutching his throbbing temples with one hand, he grimaced in agony as he rolled on the ground. Vile curses spilled from his lips while the fork clattered beside me. Cora, you worthless trash, a mere commoner like you dares lay hands on nobility. It must be your filthy human stench that contaminated me. Guards, flay her alive. I'll slaughter you both, you and that drug-addled wretch Ian. Galen writhed on the ground like a madman, leaving his entourage stunned, yet at his command, They sprang into action with practiced cruelty, baring razor-sharp fangs and gaping maws ready to tear into me. You wouldn't dare. I'm a treaty bride sent by the human realm. Harm me and second Prince Ian will have your heads. As the drug's effects waned, Galen sat disheveled in the dirt, his hair wild. He snatched up a discarded harpoon and gave it an experimental swing. Ian isn't even fit to lick the boots of the lowest merfolk. What's the point of offending him? The merfolk kingdom will be mine soon enough. With a cold sneer, I bit my lip till it bled, then smeared the blood across my hard-scale armor. Suddenly daylight flooded the scene as countless merfolk swarmed out. Sensing the disturbance, Ian leaped forward with his supporters in tow. Within moments, Galen was overpowered and knocked to the ground, outnumbered and outmatched. Planting my hands on my hips, I slapped him across the face, spat twice in contempt, then turned on my heel to follow Ian without a backward glance. 3. As I was leaving, I remembered the silver needles and medicinal powder still embedded in him. With a haughty arch of my brow, I dusted off my hands. Mark my words, today you've been bested by a mere mortal. As Ian's pledged bride, I'll be his shield from now on. Should any harm come to him, you'll learn exactly what I'm capable of. Galen's cruelty knew no bounds. Who could count how many villagers he'd slaughtered in secret? Even without Mina's vengeance to pursue, I'd make this butcher answer for every innocent life he'd taken. Walking behind Ian, watching his frail frame racked by constant coughs, I understood this was only the beginning. Naturally, I returned to the palace with Ian. Just like Mina's fate in the previous life, some young merfolk secretly looked down on me, though they maintained perfect courtesy on the surface. Their deference became genuinely respectful after witnessing my defiance toward Galen and Ian's desperate rescue attempt despite his failing health. Ian reclined by the bedside, his lips pale. He gazed at me with a melancholic sigh. You should leave. I froze, completely baffled by his words. Do you understand what being a contract bride entails? He continued. I was on the verge of ascending as a dragon through cultivation, when suddenly, for reasons unknown, all my spiritual power vanished. The forbidden texts of the ancient merfolk claim devouring human hearts accelerates cultivation. Though effective, it's unspeakably cruel. Galen used this pretext to claim you, intending to aid my ascension. But, you're just a young woman, run for your life. Heart extraction, cultivation breakthroughs. As my eyes darted in realization, I suddenly understood why Mina met such a fate in her past life. Kind-hearted Ian must have warned her too, but Mina, blinded by insatiable ambition and seduced by Galen's schemes, betrayed him instead. Just as the cunning hare falls, the hunting hound gets stewed. In the end, the merfolk beneath her tore out her heart. Ian died in vain while Galen reaped the rewards, ascending the throne untainted. After piecing together the cause, I swiftly laid out the pros and cons while fixing him with an intense gaze. Ian, you know Galen's temperament all too well. Your sudden health decline might very well be his doing. He remained silent, skepticism lingering in his mind, yet lacking concrete proof. He had no choice but to drop the matter. In the following days, Galen would glare daggers at me whenever he saw me tending flowers near the palace grounds, but the moment our eyes met, faint fear flickered in his gaze as he kept scratching himself restlessly. Ian already had few attendants to begin with, to expedite diagnosing his condition. I dismissed even more servants, eliminating any potential spies Galen might have planted. I ignored Galen's sneer about the esteemed second prince's wife of the merfolk actually doing manual labor, focusing even more intently on tending my plants. Little did he know, some of these herbs were antidotes to cleanse Ian's residual toxins, while others were poisonous blooms designed to worsen his itching. Ian would always take my hand at such moments and retaliate with sharp words of his own. In my past life as the Fox clan's matriarch, he'd cautiously warned me about their venomous schemes, but I'd been too enchanted by their honeyed words to listen. As fate would have it, after all the twists and turns, we finally met again. Ian trusts me completely. Despite Galen's repeated slander against me, he still stood up for me when those young merfolk mocked and bullied me, even gifting me the most sacred mare heart crystal of their kind. The mare heart crystal is our merfolk's sacred treasure. Keep it with you always. Whenever you're in danger, I'll sense it and come to your rescue immediately. Every time I go out to search for new herbs, Ian always reminds me to bring the mermaid's heart crystal. He's afraid Galen might capture and harass me during my search. I clenched the mermaid's heart crystal tightly. All right, I'll keep it safe. You be careful too, Ian. You two might have maintained superficial peace before, but now he's completely turned against you because of me. You need to be extra cautious. The corners of his lips curled into a reassuring smile. Turning around, I saw Galen's face dark as ink. Squinting his eyes, he resolutely shielded me behind him without loosening his grip on my hand. His towering frame completely blocked my view. Through the mermaid's heart crystal, I heard his soothing voice. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Watching him tremble yet stubbornly comfort me despite being poisoned, my heart trembled with a surge of warmth. As for Galen, I'll never let him off, I just need to wait for the right moment. As for the timing, it came exactly 3 months after I took up residence in Ian's palace. The Fox tribe and Merfolk have always been close allies. Now that they're visiting together, everyone must attend to them with utmost care, no breaches of etiquette. We'll also need someone to oversee the proceedings. Who shall it be? The Merfolk elder leaned on his cane, his gaze shifting uncertainly between Galen and Ian. These prestige-building events before other Beastfolk clans had always been Galen's domain. According to the Merfolk's strict tradition, only the most venerable elders should represent them at major public events. Ian was the obvious choice. His gentle demeanor and worldly wisdom could effectively dispel other Beastfolk's prejudice about mere people having poor memories, but Galen, leveraging his brute strength, routinely intimidated fellow Merfolk into supporting him. This silenced even high-ranking Merfolk who originally favored Ian. Knowing his ruthless ambition, no Merfolk dared oppose him, even when elders considered alternatives. Galen's threatening glare made them avert their eyes in fear. Left with only Galen as the sole candidate, the elder sighed in resignation. Just as the announcement was about to be made, Ian suddenly spoke up. "I'll do it." The moment the words fell, Galen clenched his fists in fury, grinding his teeth as he spat. "Ian, you're already ill. Hosting the Fox clan requires tremendous energy. With your frail condition, do you really think you can handle it?" Far from concern, those words sounded more like coercion to relinquish his position. I smoothly intercepted the conversation. "Then let me take over. As it happens, Lady Mina of the Fox clan is my elder sister. It's been ages since we last met. This would be perfect for catching up." Ignoring the warning in Galen's glare, I stepped forward with deliberate grace, my breath carrying a floral whisper. "Moreover, from what I've heard, young Master Galen has been suffering unbearable itchiness lately, requiring 3 baths a day. What if this maddening itch flares up in front of the Foxkin? Would you have me stripped naked right then and there?" Throwing all decency to the wind, outmaneuvered, Galen could only fume silently as the elders naturally appointed me as the envoy. After the elder left contentedly, Galen slammed his fist into the tree beside me, his face flushing crimson with rage. Ian and I exchanged knowing glances, our lips curling into identical conspiratorial smiles. "Go ahead, be angry. The angrier you get, the sooner that mysterious itching disease will flare up." Dressed in my finest attire, arm in arm with Ian as we awaited the Foxkin's arrival, Galen suddenly appeared, clutching a fox fur bracelet. He pointed frantically toward the palace glowing with flames in the distance. "Sister-in-law, disaster. Your elder sister came to visit you first but accidentally knocked over a candlestick. Your quarters are on fire. Let me accompany you there immediately. Ian should wait here." I caught the malice in his words, but so what? Before the gathered Merfolk, no matter how much he gritted his teeth in hatred, he still had to address me as sister-in-law for appearance's sake. The fox fur bracelet. So he's allied with Sister Mina after all. Feigning surprise, I rose anxiously to follow his hurried departure. Ian grabbed my wrist firmly, shaking his head repeatedly. I understood his warning. This was clearly a trap. How could the palace suddenly catch fire? That place was perpetually damp and gloomy, and the return journey would take us through a desolate path. The narrow trail was fraught with wild beasts and thorny brambles. If anything went wrong, a mere mortal like me wouldn't stand a chance. Gently patting the back of his hand, I spoke slowly under his anxious gaze. "Don't worry, Ian. Galen's the eldest. He'll protect me. When the Fox tribe's beastmen arrive later, remember to explain I went to visit my sister." Ian suddenly came to his senses upon hearing my words, finally releasing my hand. "Come back soon." I gave a wordless nod and followed Galen away from the Merfolk crowd, while an unnoticed figure slipped away from a hidden corner. He led me into the woods beside the main path. I leaned against a tree trunk first, my expression dark. "What's the matter?" Couldn't wait any longer. I casually tossed a pebble into the nearby bushes, and sure enough, a shriek followed as Mina came leaping out. The two stood before me in unison, one brandishing a trident, the other flashing a fox fur bracelet, both wearing equally sinister grins. "I underestimated you. This cursed itching must be your doing. Cora, mark my words, you'll pay for this." Galen raised his trident high, eyes burning with murderous rage. Meanwhile, Mina beside him seethed with renewed jealousy upon spotting the mermaid silk gown Ian had tailored specifically for me. Though she joined the Fox clan, her living conditions pale in comparison to mine. After all, they're just stringing her along as a puppet. Why would they spare any extra resources? Ian's different. He lavishes me with every treasure at his disposal, jewels, rare artifacts, all flowing to me like an endless stream. Especially today. My aqua-blue mermaid silk gown makes me radiant beyond compare, while her hastily thrown-on white cloak looks utterly mundane by contrast. TCH, thought joining the Merfolk would teach you who's in charge, that you'd cling to young Master Galen's coattails, but you actually side with that worthless Ian against him. Dumber than a sack of rocks. Last time you drugged Galen on purpose, now you're empty-handed. Let's see how you oppose us this time. Galen knew full well that mermaid silk garments couldn't conceal any items, which was precisely why he dared to bring me to this secluded spot so boldly. He initially intended to attack with his fishing spear, but Mina stopped him. Instead, she drew a tiny venomous insect from her bosom, so small it skittered across her palm. This treasure was gifted by my Fox Clan husband. Once it burrows into someone's flesh, the venomous creature will hollow out their organs until they waste away, never to walk again. I recognized that insect. It was the offspring parasite from the Fox Clan's poison that afflicted me in my past life. The mother parasite must have been implanted in Mina's body. No wonder she could manipulate these venomous creatures at will. My eyes darted around as I secretly grasped the vine behind me. Oh really, you think you're worthy? Seems like being the Fox Clan's lady hasn't treated you well. You've aged terribly, sister dear. Nothing stunned Mina more than remarks about her beauty. My jab about her age made her face cycle through shades of pale and livid. Her fingers twitched with barely restrained murderous intent. You wretched hag. Cora, how dare you? I've always outshone you since childhood. Even the merfolk I discarded aren't fit for you. Today this venomous insect will teach you proper manners. Mina lunged forward, trying to force my jaws open for the poisonous creature. With a sharp tug, I whipped the barbed vine across her shoulder, its thorns biting deep into her flesh. A sharp pain shot through her, making her instinctively release her grip. I dodged Galen's attempted sneak attack from behind and delivered a kick that sent him crashing right into the nest of venomous insects. My years battling poisonous creatures in the mountains while competing for rare treasures honed my skills to perfection. Dealing with these two dimwits now is child's play. I slapped Mina twice in quick succession before roundhouse kicking Galen to the ground, driving the venom deeper into his bones. As they both collapsed to the ground, I promptly stacked them in a human pyramid, one on top of the other, their disheveled clothes adding to the absurdity. Then, under their dazed stares, I covered my mouth and shrieked, "Oh my God, help! Cora, you lunatic, what the hell are you doing?" Ian's voice rang out nearby as a chaotic stampede approached. The ground trembled beneath me. I instantly recognized the arrival of the Foxkin and Merfolk warriors. I picked up the fox fur bracelet and trident from the ground, gripping them tightly before raising my eyebrows in challenge. You wanted to know what I'm about to do. Well, you're about to find out. I pinned them down with thorny vines, leaving them completely immobilized. With bloodshot eyes, I rubbed both items against my palms, smearing them with the blood of each captive. Only when I saw the eerie green glow emanating from the objects did I finally still my hands. The foxfur bracelet and trident spear were their respective weapons, undeniable proof that would expose their illicit connection if discovered by either orc faction. With blood still fresh on my hands, I fled blindly and crashed into Ian's arms, clutching his sleeve with trembling fingers as I shrieked at the top of my lungs. Young Master Galen claimed my sister accidentally knocked over the candlestick during her visit, but they were actually trying to silence me, because I accidentally witnessed their affair earlier. Save me, my lord, please save me. The fox and mermaid beastmen erupted into chaos, especially with Galen still pinned motionless over Mina. His arms braced above her with crimson eyes blazing. What nonsense are you spouting, Cora? I should have skewered you with that harpoon earlier, young master. I know you've always disliked me, but sister is still the Fox Clan's matriarch. Aren't you humiliating their entire lineage? And look, her blood still stains this harpoon. I hesitated before adding, everyone knows human beast folk covenants require blood rights. If she was willing to, mid-sentence, the fox beastmen exploded in fury. Ash, Mina's mate, nearly bared his fangs in unrestrained rage. His greatest fear was Mina forming a pact with another beastfolk and betraying him, that would shatter his ascension dreams. The merfolk elder nearly exploded with rage, smashing his cane against the ground. He bellowed, "Disgraceful wretch, get out of my sight." The fox tribe's delegation arrived with other beastfolk clans, snakes, bears, wolves, all witnessing this scandal firsthand. Ian sneered, channeling his energy into a palm strike to Galen's chest. The venomous parasite surged instantly, turning his face livid. A mouthful of blackened blood splattered onto the ground as he collapsed to his knees, swaying unsteadily. "Ian, how dare you strike me?" he spat through gritted teeth. "Had I not shown mercy back then, you'd have been dead from my poison long ago." He'd been administering a slow-acting poison to Ian, laced with toxic datura flowers, gradually eroding his cultivation base day by day. The confession came unbidden, though Ian had clung to their past camaraderie, reluctant to believe the truth. Now he had no choice but to accept it. Trembling violently, he mustered every ounce of strength to deliver a crushing blow to Galen's crown. "Galen, I've suspected you many times, but I never imagined it would actually be you." Venomous insects began writhing beneath his skin, his eyes bulging grotesquely as the sockets hollowed. Ash of the Foxkin instantly understood. The parasitic larvae had already been implanted into Galen. To prevent further exposure, Ash led them into the inner courtyard with a host of Foxkin beastfolk. Under torture, Galen confessed every wicked deed he'd ever committed, including how he tormented Ian and conspired with Mina to eliminate me. I circled the cross where he hung, battered and barely breathing, his body crisscrossed with wounds. With brutal force, I tore loose the already loosened mermaid scales from his flesh. The powder I gave you won't just make your skin crawl, it'll make your scales fall off one by one. Soon you'll be nothing but a scaleless merman, reduced to the very mortals you despise. Wait, no, not even mortal. I slowed my speech deliberately. A merman without scales loses all bestial power, coupled with the venom's backlash. You'll endure heart-rending agony daily, you'll be lower than dirt. His tongue had been torn out, leaving his mouth a bleeding ruin that could only produce muffled whimpers. The hatred in his eyes remained undiminished. Galen and Mina's affair was an open secret. After I orchestrated its exposure, Ian became the sole viable successor. Even as Ash dragged Mina away, she spat venomously. Mark my words, Cora, you'll pay for this. Her fingernails had turned violet. A telltale sign the Fox clan's venom had seeped into her marrow. I caught a glimpse of crimson blisters forming along her jawline, so the poison's finally taking effect. On the day Galen's heart was torn out, Ian sat motionless on the stone throne for hours, his fluttering lashes like butterfly wings. Cora, you know what? Back then, I genuinely believed Galen had my best interests at heart. I hesitated for a long moment before carefully replying. What I'm more curious about is why you chose to trust an outsider like me back then. He must have known the old saying, those not of our kind can never share our loyalties. Ian tilted his head up with a sly smile. Don't you remember, long ago, a little girl slayed venomous creatures in the mountains? I was just a reckless youth then, lost while playing in the hills, until you rescued me and led me home. Otherwise I'd have been dead from a snakebite long ago. He rolled up his sleeve to show me 2 tiny fang marks on his wrist. It suddenly dawned on me, back when I was just a kid who didn't know how to treat venom, I'd come across a sobbing boy sitting beside a poisonous snake. I immediately sucked out the venom, but bit down too hard and left teeth marks on his wrist. I never imagined we shared this kind of connection. Ian continued, I always wanted to marry you, but in my dreams you became the Fox clan's matriarch, no matter how I tried to reach you. It was impossible, so when Galen told me the contract bride was you, I knew it was a trap but agreed anyway. This was my selfish desire. I'm sorry, Cora, I dragged you into this. The mermaid's heart crystal began to quiver faintly. I recognized this as his guilt manifesting. Suddenly I remembered that time when I was nearly killed by Galen. It was the mermaid's heart crystal that delivered the warning just in time to save me. 5. I shook my head. It's not your fault. I chose this willingly. Without him, I might have repeated the same mistakes as my past life. Only by living this second life did I realize I'd always been the one he wanted to marry. At Ian's succession ceremony, Mina clung to Ash of the Fox clan with triumphant gleam in her eyes, as if taunting me wordlessly. What does it matter if you used Galen against me? Ash still trusts me. I'll become the Fox clan's first lady soon enough. Her pallid complexion only accentuated her ethereal allure. The Fox clan's secret poison had one telltale effect. It enhanced the victim's beauty to cloud judgment. In my past life, this very trick had blinded me until it was too late. Counting the days, without the offspring parasite, the mother parasite will only grow more voracious and draining nutrients from its host. Mina probably doesn't have long to live. My heart softened after all, and I gently advised, the Fox clan isn't as wonderful as you imagine. Mina spat venomously. Ha. I know you're jealous that my life's better than yours, that my husband dotes on me more than yours ever could. My kindness was thrown back in my face. I initially intended to let her fend for herself, but upon hearing the Fox tribe's invitation to their grand sealing ceremony, I immediately realized the mother goo was about to activate. Ian's poison was only neutralized by consuming Galen's heart, but Galen had been implanted with the child goo. If the mother goo awakened, its effects might spread to Ian as well. To eliminate all risks, I brought Ian with me to the Fox tribe's territory. Watching Mina standing at the center of attention, bathed in the spotlight, I felt a pang of doubt. She seemed perfectly fine. Had I misjudged the situation? With an air of arrogance, Mina approached me surrounded by her fawning entourage. Raising her wine cup, she discreetly slipped several black pellets into my drink beneath her flowing sleeves. My sharp eyes immediately caught the anomaly in my cup. I nearly warned her about the risks of drinking while hosting the mother parasite. In the end, I remained silent, merely sealing my acupuncture points during the toast to avoid ingesting the tainted wine. In a flash, Ash the Fox revealed her 9-tailed true form, seizing Mina by the throat as they soared into the air. Ha ha, the mother goo has finally matured. Now our Fox clan shall ascend, and all beast folk will grovel beneath our feet. The ground suddenly began trembling violently, making it nearly impossible to stand. I watched helplessly as Mina weakly flailed her limbs, the fox fur bracelet slipping from her fingers like falling petals. Damn it, ashes ascending by draining the power of all orcs present. Soon Ian, the fox tribe, and the merfolk will all be turned into puppets. Sensing the disturbance through the mermaid heart crystal, Ian dashed forward, materializing a long sword to engage in fierce combat. As Mina was violently thrown and about to hit the ground, she still managed to hurl a crescent-shaped dart at me. I turned my head, caught it midair, and flung it right back. A gaping hole had been torn straight through her chest, her entire ribcage hollowed out, every organ missing. Thunder roared as violet lightning split the ashen sky in two. Ian, caught off guard, was struck by a searing bolt. As the mermaid's heart crystal clashed against the guardian scales, I slashed my palm, letting streaming blood engulf them both. Heaven and earth converge, yin and yang invert, the cosmos shatters. A blinding flash drained the strength from my body, like an arrow loosed from its bow. I lunged toward the Fox Clan's ash and struck him square in the gut. Crackling lightning enveloped me, magnetically locking us together the instant he came flying at me. Ian's frantic shouts echoed in my ears, but I couldn't muster a response. Time blurred before my eyes fluttered open to find Ian's heavy tears splashing against the back of my hand, still faintly warm. It snapped me back to reality. Am I not dead? Supported by his arm as I rose, I saw Foxkin and Merfolk beastmen kneeling in prostration, pressing their foreheads to the ground at my feet while offering fox pelts and mermaid scales of varying hues. These are their sacred talismans. Cora, you saved us all. You're our savior. They're just showing their gratitude through these gifts. Ian told me how the Fox clansmen Ash succumbed to dark magic, sacrificing fellow beastkin to drain their spiritual energy for his twisted ascension ritual. Mina became one of the puppets too. Had I not broken the formation with my own body, the entire beastkin race would have been wiped out. He knelt on one knee, hand over his heart, bowing slightly. Cora, I swear upon my life that the beastkin shall protect you forever. Name your request, whatever it may be. Pressing a hand to my chest, I felt the strong heartbeat as I resolved. I want my freedom. Please release me from our contract. Ian was stunned. He'd expected me to demand becoming the orc chieftain's wife or the supreme ruler. Never anticipating such a simple request, he pleaded. Cora, please, won't you stay? The merfolk and fox clans need leadership. You could be our queen. We'd all obey you. Wouldn't you want us as your subjects? I shook my head. Beast folk or humans, we're all equals. Having a ruler would just become oppression in another form. On the day we terminated the pact, Ian and I vowed to establish equal and amicable relations between humans and beast folk. When peace reigns over land and sea, we shall meet again. Story 2. I tried to stop my sister-in-law, who had just finished the college entrance examination, from going to the bar with the guy with dyed hair. And she held a grudge against me. The high-temperature apocalypse arrived. When I was searching for supplies, my sister-in-law locked me outside. I begged her to open the door, but she said, "You're an outsider. What right do you have to control me? Stay outside and get baked for a while. Consider it a lesson for you." My husband and mother-in-law took my sister-in-law's side and turned a blind eye to my plight. I died of heat outside the house I bought, after being reborn. I won't meddle in other people's business anymore. I'm going to survive. 1. Allison, I'm going out. I'm going to the bar. The college entrance examination is over, and I want to indulge myself. On the evening after the college entrance examination, Autumn was doing her makeup in front of the mirror. I patiently tried to persuade her. Autumn, if you want to relax after the college entrance examination, sister-in-law supports you. But going to the bar with those idle people in society is not safe. My words made Autumn lose her temper instantly. Have you ever been to a bar? How do you know it's not safe? Bah, you're such a bumpkin. Idle people in society. Do you think everyone is like you, always thinking about money? I'm 18 years old. I can go wherever I want and do whatever I want. You forced me to study every day before the college entrance examination, and you still won't let me be after it. What on earth are your intentions, Allison? I treated her sincerely and cultivated her as if she were my own daughter, but my sister-in-law said I was just an outsider. Suddenly, a chill rose from the bottom of my heart. My husband, Ashton, habitually tried to smooth things over. He scolded Autumn a few words but didn't stop her from going to the bar. My mother-in-law took her side even more and said I was meddling too much. When the two of them saw through the window that the guy with dyed hair on the modified motorcycle took my sister-in-law away, they became worried. My mother-in-law turned around and blamed me for not keeping an eye on my sister-in-law. My husband also pestered me. In the end, I secretly followed her to the bar. Autumn, who had drunk too much, was almost taken away by the guy with dyed hair, but I stopped them after sobering up. My sister-in-law didn't show any gratitude. Instead, She blamed me for embarrassing her in front of her friends. After that day, the temperature rose to 70 degrees within just 1 week. The high-temperature disaster destroyed the social system. A large number of people died. There were messy, dry corpses everywhere on the street. In order for the 4 of us in the family to survive, I went out to look for supplies. When I came back, my sister-in-law locked me outside. I knelt down and begged her to open the door. She said she wanted to teach me a lesson. My mother-in-law scolded me, saying that I was too bossy and not virtuous enough, and that I should reflect on myself. My husband mumbled that he was caught in the middle and that it was my fault for not understanding his hardships as a man, and that it was good for me to reflect. In the end, under the scorching heat, I gradually lost consciousness, in a trance. I saw my husband and his family of 3 open the door. They moved the supplies that I had risked my life to find into the house, and I was like a stray dog, and no one bothered to take a second look at me. When I opened my eyes again, the thirst and the burning heat were gone. In front of me was my sister-in-law, who was putting on heavy makeup. Too, the college entrance examination is over, and I want to relax. Autumn was looking at everyone's expressions in the mirror while doing her makeup. I blankly took out my phone and confirmed the date several times. It was really the day after the college entrance examination. Brother, my friend said he would take me to the bar to broaden my horizons. Well, I promise I won't drink. Autumn's nonsense woke me up from my shock. This time, I didn't stop her. My husband, Ashton, was whining and winking at me vigorously. It had always been like this in my previous life. Whenever there were words that might offend my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, he made me say them. He called it the art of a married man. I lowered my head as if I didn't see it. Brother, stop winking at Allison. I saw it. She doesn't deserve to control me, Autumn said in a coquettish voice and pulled Ashton's arm back and forth. Give me some money. I want to go to the bar to broaden my horizons. Ashton had no choice but to give her the money. Autumn happily rushed out of the house. The guy with dyed hair, who had been waiting by the roadside for a long time, stepped hard on the modified motorcycle. After everyone had gone far away, my mother-in-law, Diana, said sarcastically, Allison, why are you so thoughtless? You should have stopped Autumn just now. She just finished the college entrance examination today. Is the bar a place you should go to? I absent-mindedly explained. She wouldn't listen to me. How could I persuade her? Ashton had a dark face and impatiently scolded me. How are you talking to our mom? You should have tried to persuade her. How do you know you couldn't persuade her if you didn't try? Do you still want to stay in this family? Ashton shouted at the top of his voice, showing off his so-called filial piety to his mother. 3, sure enough, Diana smiled triumphantly. Ashton, it's not that I'm criticizing you, but a man should manage his wife properly. You can't be careless about anything. A wife is just a cheapskate. Once you let her have an inch, she'll take a mile. Today she dares to ignore your feelings, tomorrow she'll turn the world upside down. The old shrew kept fanning the flames. To show his filial piety, Ashton started hitting me. After enjoying the show, Diana stepped in to stop the fight. All right, stop hitting her. If you injure her, we'll have to spend our money on treating her. Let her go to the bar and keep an eye on your sister. Allison, be sensible. Don't make your husband angry all the time. Under the scolding of the old shrew, I walked out of the house. The cool wind blew, and I greedily breathed in the air. After the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, the social order collapsed, and the water, electricity, and the internet paralyzed. Air conditioners and fans became useless. I hadn't felt the taste of being cool for a long time. Allison, stop, I have something else to tell you, Ashton shouted at the top of his voice. As if afraid his mother wouldn't hear, he dragged me a long way, and then Ashton showed a look of distress and guilt. Allison, are you okay? Does it still hurt? You've been wronged, but I had no choice. It's all for the sake of this family. Since you were a child, all you've ever wanted is a home, right? Only when we're harmonious can we call it a home. I was an orphan, and my obsession since childhood was to have a home. In my previous life, Ashton's family took advantage of this and kept pushing me. I only woke up just before I died. Looking at Ashton's exaggerated performance, I felt like vomiting. I can't fall out with them now. To survive the high-temperature apocalypse, I need to prepare in advance. For, in the high-temperature apocalypse, the first thing I need is a hiding place. I took a fancy to a small courtyard. The self-built house not far from here was in a state of disrepair and had been vacant for a long time. The best thing was that I could clearly see my current home from that house. In my previous life, after the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, I was not only responsible for the daily life of Ashton and his family of 3, I also had to go out and search for supplies at the risk of my life. It was during the process of searching for supplies that I discovered the secret of that self-built house. There was a fairly large basement under the house. I guessed that when the house was built, The owner wanted to use it as a warehouse, however, it was empty, and I didn't find anything there at that time. More importantly, I could dig a well in the courtyard. In the high-temperature apocalypse, water is the most precious resource. Under the continuous scorching of the sun, the rivers dried up, and the ground cracked. It was very difficult to find clean water on the surface. If I had a deep well, I could live comfortably. As the night fell, the sales phone number left on the self-built house could still be reached. The owner of the courtyard was eager to sell. I made an appointment with him to meet the next morning. In fact, the formalities weren't important. After the apocalypse, everything would become ownerless. Contacting the original owner was just to get his permission to carry out some renovations. After finishing everything, I returned to my so-called home. When Diana saw me coming back alone, she was immediately unhappy. "Allison, I told you to bring Autumn back. Why did you come back alone?" I pretended to be weak and said timidly, "I couldn't find her." Diana cursed, saying that I deliberately didn't bring Autumn home and that I wanted to harm her. Ashton took his mother's side firmly and even tried to hit me. When I was first reborn, I wasn't thinking clearly and took the beating without resistance. I definitely won't give in this time. I shouted loudly, "Wait a minute, I have something important to say." I found a place at a top university for Autumn. With just a few words, I made the mother and daughter believe that the good-for-nothing Autumn could really get into a prestigious university. The thing is, it will cost money. 5. After getting married, Ashton hadn't gone out to work. The income of the family depended on me working alone. However, all the money was deposited in Ashton's card. It was Diana's idea. She said that a woman shouldn't be in charge of the money, or it would lead to big trouble. The apocalypse was coming, and preparing supplies would cost a lot of money. I want to get my money back. Even when I went grocery shopping, I had to humble myself and beg Ashton for money, but when it came to doing something for the ungrateful Autumn, Ashton readily transferred the money. "It's not enough. I'll try my best." When I said this, Diana immediately shouted that her daughter's chance to change her destiny couldn't be missed. She had some savings for her old age and transferred it to me. Early the next morning, on the pretext of greasing the wheels, I hurried out. I ran into Autumn, who hadn't come home all night. She reeked of alcohol and had hickeys on her neck. I first met the owner of the self-built house, paid a small deposit, and got the right to renovate the house. The owner had a crafty look in his eyes, and I guessed what he was thinking. It was just that there was no contract. He probably planned to renege on the deal and take the house back after I renovated it. It was a good plan, but he needed to survive the high-temperature apocalypse first. After dealing with the owner, I started contacting the construction team. I had a deep well dug directly in the courtyard. The water outlet pipe was connected to the basement from underground. According to my requirements, there were 2 ways to draw water. I could use an electric motor or a manual winch. When the money was in place, the workers didn't care about my strange requests. With the most important water source guaranteed, I started renovating the dilapidated house. I wanted to turn this place into a shelter exclusive to me in the apocalypse. I painted the whole house with heat-insulating nano coating. I installed a layer of heat-conducting silicone sheet on the roof. I also installed a set of solar panels. I didn't know how effective they would be. I pasted dark anti-peeping and sun protective film on all the windows and installed the sturdiest anti-theft net. In the apocalypse, human hearts were often more deadly than the scorching heat. While the workers were busy, I rushed to the wholesale market against time. No one knew better than me what supplies to stockpile. 6. Under the high-temperature apocalypse, the public facilities system would collapse soon. There was no guarantee of water, electricity, or gas, and it was very difficult to get normal food. Moreover, with the high temperature and dry air, there were a lot of things to consider when stockpiling supplies. The first stop was the canned food wholesale store. I rushed in and started shopping. I bought all kinds of fish cans, meat cans. These cans could provide protein and fat and were hard currency in the apocalypse. I also stocked up on some fruit cans, but not too many. They were all in glass bottles and were not easy to preserve, so I could only eat them as a treat. Then there were the compressed biscuits in iron boxes. This stuff had a long shelf life and was good at satisfying hunger. It could keep me alive for a long time. Next was the dried goods store. I bought dried cowpeas, dried mushrooms, and wood ear. There were even dehydrated vegetables. As for the dried cured meat, dried chicken, duck, and fish, I couldn't do without them. These foods were easy to store and could provide the necessary nutrition. Finally, I bought a large quantity of dried fruits and preserved fruits. I went on a crazy shopping spree and filled 2 small trucks. I transported these supplies back first. There were still a lot of supplies to stockpile, and I couldn't finish it in one trip. Throughout the whole morning, I kept eating all kinds of cold drinks and ice cream. My insulin level was flashing red. On the way back, I asked the driver to take a detour and bought a batch of seeds. I wasn't sure if I could grow plants in the extreme high temperature weather, but it was always right to be prepared. The seeds didn't take up much space. After unloading the supplies from the 2 trucks and settling the payment, I started the next round of shopping. 7, according to my memory and experience, in the afternoon, I went straight to the pharmacy. On the way, there were not only few pedestrians but also very few vehicles. The weather forecast said the temperature was 39 degrees today, but it was definitely over 42 degrees in reality. The situation was deteriorating, and I had to hurry up. I bought all the Wuxingxingqi water, cooling oil, and Fenjiujing, essential balm, in the store. I took as many as they had. The pharmacy wasn't a hospital. When the clerk saw a big order for common medicine, he didn't care what I was going to do with them. Beauty. We can transfer the goods. If you really need them, we can deliver them in half an hour. With the sudden increase in temperature, Wuxingxingqi water became in short supply. In the end, they could only transfer a little over 300 bottles. I stocked up 2,000 bottles each of cooling oil and Fenjiujing. While waiting for the transferred goods, I made a list of other medicines. I stocked up on Yunnan Baiyao, cold medicine, cephalosporins, amoxicillin, ibuprofen, paracetamol, berberine, montmorillonite powder. I stocked up on everything I could buy. I also bought a large amount of multivitamins and mineral tablets. These things could ensure that I could still get the necessary nutrition when the food supply was insufficient. I bought a lot of bandages, gauze, band-aids, and medical alcohol. I even bought 2 professional medical kits and 2 gas masks. The owner of the pharmacy was alarmed and asked a few questions pretending to be concerned. I made up a reason casually, and the other party immediately said they could deliver the goods to my door. After this round of busyness, it was almost dark. After storing the medicines properly, I dragged my tired body back to my home. As soon as I entered the house, I saw the coffee table piled with takeout boxes. Autumn, who had broadened her horizons last night, rolled her eyes and shouted at me, "Allison, you're a married woman, and you didn't come home all day. What are you up to? Look at what we ate at home. It's all takeout, it's not nutritious, and it's not hygienic. Allison, how can you be a wife?" I just didn't cook for you 3 yesterday. It's not like I cut off your hands. It's already good enough to have takeout. In a few days, you won't even be able to eat shit. 8, I can't fall out with them until the last moment. I made no attempt to hide my exhaustion and patiently explained, "I've been busy pulling strings to get you a place at university." Autumn rolled her eyes and said, "Bah. Who cares? I can get into university on my own." With that, she swayed her hips and slammed the door as she went back to her bedroom. If she could get into even a junior college on her own, her family's ancestral graves would have to emit auspicious smoke. Actually, it doesn't matter whether she gets in or not. In a few days, that ancestral smoke will rise anyway. Diana, surprisingly, tried to smooth things over. "Look at how you talk to your sister-in-law." But Allison, while getting things done is important, you also need to take care of the family. When Ashton's father was still alive, no matter how busy I was, I never let the 3 of them eat takeout. Ashton chimed in, "Did you hear what Mom said? Let it slide for today, but no matter how busy you are tomorrow, remember to come back and cook." I was utterly speechless. Are these 3 people disabled? Before I married Ashton, did they survive by drinking the northwest wind every day? I kept reminding myself to hold it in, forcing a submissive expression. I said, "I'll remember. I'll try my best to come back and cook tomorrow." After that, I started cleaning up the trash on the coffee table, as I expected. Although these 3 claimed that takeout was unhygienic and unhealthy, they gobbled it all up, not even leaving me a bone. Fortunately, I had the foresight to eat before coming back, seeing me start working. Diana nodded in satisfaction and went to her precious daughter's room. Ashton said loudly enough for Autumn to hear, "It's not try your best, you must come back and cook." 9. After taking a shower, I went to bed early. The good days of sleeping soundly in an air-conditioned room are numbered. Ashton followed me into the bedroom and whispered, "Allison, you worked so hard today. I feel so bad making you run around in this heat for Autumn's sake, but she's my only sister. If we don't take care of her, who will? Let me give you a leg massage." Looking at Ashton's exaggerated and flattering face, I felt a wave of nausea. Yeah, I won't stoop to her level. I have to keep begging people tomorrow, so I'm going to sleep. It was the same in my past life. Ashton belittled me in front of Diana and Autumn while secretly trying to appease me, and I was stupid enough to fall for it. Women don't truly understand life until they've faced death, ignoring Ashton's false cajoling. I turned over and went to sleep. I still had to go shopping for supplies tomorrow. 10. The next day, the temperature soared even higher. There was no trace of the morning coolness. I joined the crowd of aunts and uncles rushing for discounted eggs and was among the first to enter the supermarket. It's more convenient to stock up on daily necessities at the supermarket than at the wholesale market: toilet paper, sanitary pads, Toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, body wash, hard hats. Insulated non-slip gloves, insulated rain boots, I bought them all, surrounded by a dazzling array of goods. I wanted everything in sight. The best part was the outdoor supplies section: knives, folding camping shovels, hacksaws, high-intensity flashlights, camping stoves, quick-dry clothes and pants, etc. With these, my safety factor skyrocketed. I also bought a large quantity of seasonings like soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, and salt. The newly arrived store manager led several employees to serve me specifically. They wrote down everything I pointed to, and in the end, it was all loaded from the warehouse. Calculating the remaining space in the self-built house in the basement, I indulgently stocked up on another batch of snacks and drinks: chips, spicy strips, chocolate, milk tea, yogurt, cola. I got a bit of everything, for ice cream and popsicles. I even bought a freezer and filled it to capacity. I figured that even if the power went out, I could devour these little treats before they melted. When I returned to the self-built house in the small truck arranged by the store manager, I saw Ashton constantly peering into the courtyard. 11, Allison, you have to explain yourself. As soon as he saw me get off the truck, Ashton stormed over with a dark expression. Is this what you spent the money Mom and I gave you on? That's a huge amount of money. It's all my savings. The driver and porters looked at us awkwardly. I asked them to unload the goods first and then pulled the sweating Ashton aside. What are you yelling about? Do you think getting things done through connections is as simple as buying something in a store? You just hand over the money, and it's done. After being deceived by Ashton for so many years, it's time I got some interest back. Seeing the confusion on Ashton's face, I continued to spin my tale. Ashton, we've been married for 3 years. You know what kind of person I am, right? You don't need me to tell you how competitive spots at top universities are, do you? Do you think the people who can secure such spots are short on money? I've been running around in this heat, doing menial work for them. It's all for Autumn and for this family. After some nonsense, Ashton bought it. I felt nothing but contempt for myself. How could I have let this idiot deceive me until my death in my past life? Go home first. I'll have someone install a surveillance system at home this afternoon. It'll be paid from this account, so we don't have to spend a penny. Don't go blabbing about it. As soon as he heard there was a freebie, Ashton's attitude did a 180. He hypocritically praised me a few times before leaving contentedly. In my past life, the 3 of you watched me bake to death through the peephole, safe behind the locked door. This time, I want to watch you too. 12. It's not surprising that Ashton found this place since the self-built house isn't far from our home. In the afternoon, the surveillance installers arrived and set up several cameras with voice call functions in our home. I specifically chose high-end products. They have built-in battery backup and can be connected to a dedicated terminal within a 5-kilometer radius even without the internet. While the workers were testing the system, I could already hear Ashton, Diana, and Autumn chatting happily through the terminal tablet. This family can never get enough of freebies. Similarly, I installed surveillance cameras both inside and outside the self-built house. I replaced the door with a thick anti-theft door and reinforced it as much as possible. Once social order collapses, these will be the keys to survival. In the evening, the generator I ordered was delivered. By the time it was installed, it was already late at night. I had successfully completed most of my supplies stockpiling plan. On my way back home, Ashton finally called. Allison, you're still not back. How can you be so irresponsible? Irresponsible. When I married you, Ashton, I was still a virgin, no matter how irresponsible you think I am. No matter how irresponsible I am, I would never, like your sister, go to a bar and then a hotel with that guy with dyed hair on the very day after the college entrance examination. I guessed that Ashton was making this call in front of Diana and Autumn. Calming myself down, I replied in a steady voice, it's all because of Autumn's matter. Currying favor with people isn't easy. Before I could finish, Ashton interrupted me with a roar. Bullshit, it's not hard at all. It's just that you're incompetent. You spent so much money and couldn't even get a simple thing done. It's all excuses. Allison, since you like fooling around outside so much, don't bother coming back. The door is locked, and no one will open it for you, no matter how much you knock. From the phone, I could hear Diana's gloating laughter and Autumn's provocative remarks. After his outburst, Ashton hung up. 13. I sneered at the phone and turned back towards the self-built house. As soon as I entered, Ashton sent me a WeChat message. It was full of sweet talk and false cajoling. The fakeness was so palpable that I felt like my phone had been dirted. At the end, Ashton lovingly advised me to find a cheap hotel for the night. I snorted and opened the surveillance terminal. At home, Autumn and Diana were sprawled on the living room sofa, binge-watching TV dramas. The coffee table and floor were littered with takeout boxes and snack bags. Despite the mess, Autumn and Diana looked perfectly at ease. During the 3 years of my marriage to Ashton, I not only had to earn money to support the family but also serve them like a maid. It was Ashton's two-faced tactics that fooled me into not only having no complaints but also making me feel like I finally had the family I'd always longed for. On the surveillance screen, Autumn kicked a takeout box on the coffee table. "Mom, look how messy it is here. Why don't you clean up?" Diana didn't care and replied absently, still staring the TV, "Wait for Allison to clean it up tomorrow. They're all spoiled rotten. I wonder if they can still stand it when all this garbage starts to stink tomorrow." I turned off the surveillance and took a refreshing shower. Lying in a room filled with supplies, I felt truly at ease. The newly installed air conditioner blew out cool air, and I found myself oddly looking forward to the arrival of the apocalypse. 14. On the third day after the college entrance examination, the temperature became outrageous. At 5 in the morning, it was already 42 degrees Celsius. Primary and secondary schools issued emergency notices for suspension. Apart from those forced to work for a living, the streets were deserted. I kept racking my brain, drawing on my past experiences, and made a list. The items on the list were scattered, and it would be more efficient to order them online from local stores rather than buying them myself. Throughout the morning, dozens of delivery men came to the courtyard with my orders. I bought several boxes of ice-cold mineral water from a nearby store and gave 2 bottles to each delivery person. I also took the opportunity to advise these hardworking people to stock up on supplies at home, as the weather was becoming unpredictable. Whether they listened or not was beyond my control. At noon, the temperature soared to a terrifying 50 degrees Celsius, and the ground temperature was even higher. The apocalypse was drawing nearer. I stayed in the self-built house, enjoying the air conditioning. I made myself a bowl of cold noodles and indulged by adding ice cubes. The ice made from purified water had no taste, but I crunched on it happily, savoring every bite. This was the life. My phone rang. It was Ashton. I turned on the surveillance tablet and muted it before answering the call. On the surveillance screen, Ashton looked furious, shouting into the phone. His angry voice came through the receiver. "Allison, so this is your excuse to slack off, playing supervisor for others while neglecting your own home. I want you back here to cook within half an hour. Oh, and we're out of groceries. Pick some up on the way. Autumn wants braised pork ribs, and Mom and I want cold noodles." I glanced at the blazing sun outside and casually replied, then hung up. "You 3, just wait at home." In my past life, at this exact moment, I would have been rushing around the vegetable market, buying different ingredients according to their tastes, and then going home to cook in a sweltering kitchen. How stupid I was. I muted my phone and turned on the sound for the surveillance. At home, the 3 ungrateful wretches were slumped on the sofa, looking at each other. Surprisingly, the trash on the coffee table was still there. "They really can endure it," Autumn asked Ashton impatiently. "How much longer until Allison gets back?" "I'm starving," Ashton replied irritably. "Soon, she should be at the vegetable market by now." Autumn squirmed on the sofa like a maggot. "By the time she buys the groceries and cooks, it'll be ages. I want takeout." Ashton couldn't bring himself to scold his sister. "It's too hot outside. No delivery men are taking orders anymore." Diana chimed in. "Autumn, don't order so much takeout. It's too expensive. Mind your own business. I'm ordering anyway." Autumn angrily grabbed her phone, but no one accepted her order. Diana looked miserable but didn't dare say another word. This old shrew only knows how to show off her power in front of me. After watching this farce, I let out a satisfied burp. Time for a nap. In this weather, not taking a nap is a disservice to myself. 15. I slept until 3:30 p.m. There were over 20 missed calls on my muted phone, all from Ashton. I called back, and he picked up immediately. "Allison, what the hell are you doing? Where the hell are you with the groceries? The whole family is waiting for you to come back and cook. Where are you?" I lowered my voice and pretended to be weak. "I had heatstroke at the vegetable market. Someone took me to the hospital. I'm at, well, focus on getting better. Use your medical insurance to cover the costs." Looking at the hung-up call, I thought to myself, what a caring husband I have. He didn't even give me a chance to make up which hospital I was at. For 3 consecutive days, I used the excuse of being in the hospital to stay at the self-built house. The outside temperature was becoming increasingly terrifying. Tomorrow, it would reach 70 degrees Celsius, marking the official arrival of the apocalypse. These past few days, when I was bored, I'd watch the surveillance footage of home. It was quite entertaining. Without me around, Diana became my replacement. The old shrew was forced by her children to go to the vegetable market. She could have bought more groceries and stocked up, but she thought it was too expensive and only bought enough for one day. On the 7th day after the college entrance examination, home ran out of food again. I woke up early in the morning, sweating from the heat, even though I had set the air conditioner to 16 degrees Celsius. It was barely effective against the extreme heat. The sun outside glowed an unnatural red. As if it were about to set the entire earth ablaze, the trees lining the streets had all withered and died, the roads were constantly cracking due to the heat, there was no one in sight outside. I rushed to the basement and turned on the air conditioner, finally feeling some relief. My phone rang. To my surprise, it was Autumn, 16. I quickly turned on the surveillance screen and answered the call. "Sister-in-law, I miss you." Autumn's overly sweet voice made me shiver. I don't deserve to be called sister-in-law. During the 3 years of my marriage to Ashton, Autumn rarely called me sister-in-law. Autumn was taken aback. Evidently, she wasn't used to me speaking so differently. "Sister-in-law, are you feeling better? I want to eat your braised pork ribs." This idiot could only follow the script. From the surveillance, I could clearly see that Autumn had put the phone on speaker, and Ashton and Diana were huddled around, eavesdropping. "If you want braised pork ribs, ask your brother to make them. He dotes on you the most." Just thinking about how I quit my job 3 months before Autumn's college entrance examination to take good care of her, only to be repaid with ingratitude. I will never forgive her. "Come on, what can my brother cook? I just want to eat the ones you make." Autumn continued to act coquettishly. "You don't really want to eat ribs. You clearly want to take advantage of me. Aren't you just a family of 3 who are hungry and too afraid to go out?" Trying to coax me, an outsider, into working hard for the Ashton family. Ashton, who was standing beside her, seemed to sense something. He simply stopped pretending and snatched the phone directly. "Allison, where are you? Why haven't you come home?" I sneered. "Wait a minute, I'll show you where I am via WeChat video." I carefully selected an angle that could capture all the stock supplies in the frame. Then I grabbed an ice cream and started eating it while making the video call. "You're not in the hospital. There's so much food behind you. You even have ice cream to eat." On the video, the 3 members of Ashton's family looked completely stunned. I burst into laughter. "Why would I go to the hospital? So you can come and take care of me." For 3 whole days and 4 nights, Ashton only sent a few fake, insincere messages on WeChat and didn't make a single phone call. He was clearly afraid that I'd ask him to come to the hospital and take care of me. "Allison, is this the small courtyard you renovated? You're hiding in someone else's house, and all this food belongs to them, right? Quick, bring all the food back. Don't you know how sought after food is right now?" "Don't I know? I know all too well. Supermarkets, stores, and places like that stopped operating the day before yesterday. Some people couldn't resist going out to search for supplies. Today, guess why the apocalypse is considered to have arrived today? Order has completely collapsed. In my past life, when I went out to search for supplies, I never dared to go to places like supermarkets, stores, or wholesale markets. Even if there was food there, there was a high chance I'd get the food but lose my life trying. How could I just take someone else's things?" I took big bites of the ice cream in front of the camera. Autumn and Diana were so that they kept swallowing their saliva. Diana hurriedly said, "But you're eating their ice cream right now." I tilted my head in pretend surprise and gave the ice cream a close-up. "You mean this? I paid for it." "Yum." Well, taking big bites was too cold for my teeth, so I switched to licking it slowly. "As a wife, your family is starving, but you're over here eating." Before the old shrew Diana could finish, I hung up the call, then I turned off my phone. Let them do whatever they want. 17, on the surveillance screen. The 3 members of the Ashton family cursed at me, but cursing couldn't solve the problem of their empty stomachs. Autumn called the guy with dyed hair hopefully, begging him to bring some food on his modified motorcycle. "Autumn, are you crazy? It's 70 degrees outside, and you want me to bring you food? We only slept together once, and you want me to risk my life? Get lost." Autumn cried until her eyes were swollen. She never expected that the love she thought everyone envied was just a casual fling. Ashton and Diana were furious but powerless. After shouting and cursing for a while, neither of them dared to say they'd go after the guy with dyed hair. Watching the 3 of them making such a fool of themselves, I couldn't stop laughing. This was more interesting than watching a drama. Speaking of watching dramas, I had to quickly download some TV shows and movies to kill time after the internet was cut off. More and more bad news was emerging online. Although the country repeatedly emphasized that it wouldn't abandon its people, the unprecedented extreme heat was beyond human control. In local forums and various groups, the number of people asking for help was increasing. This was just the beginning. As the power and water supply were cut off, there would be even more people driven to despair. I didn't have the ability to protect everyone. I could only protect myself. In my past life, I heard and saw too many examples of people who died because they were too kind-hearted and tried to help others. On the first day of the apocalypse, I spent the day watching the 3 members of the Ashton family cursing helplessly. On the second day, they started blaming each other. On the third day, Diana was forced by her children to go out and look for food. On the fourth day, Diana still hadn't returned. On the fifth day, with no food left and having drunk so much water that they vomited, Ashton and Autumn called me. Allison, I was wrong. I wasn't good enough to you. Come back, and I'll give you a happy home. The trick that had always worked on me in Ashton's mind failed this time. I lazily replied, it's too dangerous outside. I'm scared. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law. I miss you. Autumn finally couldn't act coquettish anymore. Her hoarse, crying voice actually sounded much better than before. Sister-in-law, I wasn't good before. I'll listen to you from now on. You're the best person to me in the whole world. Please, come back. Oh dear, if you two siblings say things like this, I really have to reflect on myself. What made you two so sure that if I went back, I'd definitely bring food with me, with the intention of teasing these ungrateful wretches? I pretended to think deeply. After a long while, I said, it's too hot during the day. Going out is a death sentence. I'll see how it goes at night. Sister-in-law, I knew you loved me the most. Allison, you still love me. I'll give you the happiest home. Through the surveillance, I could see that Ashton and his sister actually started cleaning the house. I used to suspect that these two ungrateful creatures' hands had degenerated. At night, I stayed in the basement and continued eating ice cream. The air conditioner was barely working, but the freezer I bought on a whim was still operating normally. I froze several large ice blocks and placed them around me. The faint coolness was so refreshing. My phone rang. It was a video call request from Ashton. I answered and gave a close-up of the ice blocks first. Allison, why haven't you come back, sister-in-law? I've drunk so much water that I'm vomiting. I really can't drink anymore. I smiled and gave them a sincere piece of advice. Be good and listen. Drink as much as you can. In 2 more days, when the water supply is cut off, you won't even have water to drink. The two ungrateful wretches finally realized I was teasing them and flew into a rage. I hung up the video. Let them curse all they want. It won't affect me. But on the surveillance, Ashton and Autumn started discussing coming to find me with kitchen knives. Seriously. Are you two being overly confident and underestimating me too much? 18. The two ungrateful wretches weren't completely stupid. They knew to set out when the temperature was lowest, around midnight. Even at night, the outdoor temperature was still over 60 degrees. In my past life, I went out to search for supplies during this time period. That day, after the sun rose, I died outside the locked door. The two ungrateful wretches got lucky and actually reached the gate of the small courtyard safely. The low courtyard wall couldn't stop them. They climbed over the wall, but they were exhausted and out of breath. Allison, open the door. Do you really think this lousy door can stop me? Ashton shouted for a long time and then started smashing the door. The thickened anti-theft door I specially installed was really sturdy. Sparks flew when Ashton's kitchen knife hit it, but only a little paint chipped off the door. Seeing that the kitchen knife wasn't working, Ashton started playing the emotional card. All sorts of nonsense came out of his mouth, and Autumn joined in, crying and begging. Unfortunately, compared to when I was outside the door in my past life, their performance lacked much emotion and wasn't convincing at all. When begging didn't work, Ashton started smashing the windows. I didn't even need to use the folding camping shovel in my hand. Just shining a high-intensity flashlight at him made him retreat, howling in pain. They cursed outside the door until just before dawn, then left in fear. Once the sun comes up, people will die. I'm not kidding. The battery of the surveillance system could probably support the equipment for about a week. On the 6th day of the apocalypse, the power was cut off. On the 7th day, the water supply and the internet were cut off. Ashton risked his life to go out and somehow managed to get some dry bread slices. The two ungrateful wretches survived for 3 more days. On the 10th day, Ashton and Autumn started fighting. The cause wasn't about going out to search for supplies. Idle people in society. Do you think everyone is like you, always thinking about money? It was all because of hunger. I simply turned off the surveillance. It wasn't interesting anymore. Epilogue. I stayed in the basement for 3 whole months. 3 months later, the high-temperature apocalypse ended. However, the way the temperature dropped was rather brutal. Hailstorms hit the ground without warning. Ice chunks the size of human heads fell from the sky and destroyed the solar panels I installed earlier. I had bought a generator in advance, but it seemed useless now. The hail raged for a whole day, and then heavy rain started. It wasn't until the 3rd day that the rain eased up, and everything returned to normal, everything except humanity. When I walked out of the basement and through the anti-theft door of the self-built house, the sun was shining warmly, and the breeze gently caressed my face. In the sky, there was a huge rainbow. It was so beautiful.